In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 95 of the EcoChat Tea Club, a Shan High Mountain Oolong Tea from Taiwan. Batch 95 of the EcoChat Tea Club is a Shan High Mountain Oolong Tea from Taiwan. Shan translates as Pear Mountain, and it is the place name that designates the highest elevation tea growing region on the island of Taiwan. Our source of Shan tea is on the western side of the tea growing region, just above the Deji Shuiku, the reservoir that is right below the ridge that the Shan tea growing region sits on, and we have determined that to be ideal in terms of a climate control, so to speak. There's much more fog that comes right directly off that reservoir and right up the mountain above it where the tea farm that we source from sits. It really does make a significant difference what direction a particular slope is facing in terms of where it's positioned within a mountain valley, what the wind patterns do, what the sun exposure is on that slope. All of those things matter in terms of how the leaves grow. And this plot is on the top of a ridge above a reservoir at about 2,000 meters. And at that elevation, there are only 3 harvests a year because the leaves just don't grow fast enough to get 4 harvests. So this is the fall harvest, as they call it. It was harvested in August. And we think it's a really nice representative of Shan tea. It has a very light, bright profile to it, aromatic, not too oxidized. It's just the classic high mountain oolong flavor on the lighter, greener side, but substantial enough in its profile. And if I keep talking about it more, I'm going to go crazy, so I need to take a sip. First brew. Right up into the sinuses, very stimulating. My whole tongue and mouth is kind of buzzing from the first sip. I do get an Asian pear note from this, along with some sort of very mild, savory spice. I brewed a 1:15 ratio, 10 grams of tea in this 150 milliliter teapot, which I haven't used in a long time. This used to be my go-to teapot many years ago for lightly oxidized, unroasted high mountain tea, basically. And it does work really well. I think I'm gonna get back into it. It's a very thin-walled, handmade, literally. The artist has his or her name engraved on the bottom of the pot, which I can't read at all, especially without my glasses, but it's a good pot. So 1:15, 10 grams of tea leaves, 150 milliliters of water for approximately 1 minute for the first, second, and third brews, 1 minute 15 seconds for the fourth brew, and 1 minute 30 seconds for the fifth brew. See how the second brew goes. More substantial, softer mouth feel, a little bit more creamy vegetal qualities to the second brew. The third brew has some more herbal kind of qualities coming out, a little bit more distinct notes. It's not, whenever I say herbal, I go to like stronger things like, you know, coriander or basil or thyme or sage, but it's none of those quite because it just doesn't have that intensity of perfume. It does kind of remind me of sage, actually, or maybe marjoram, with all this floral kind of stuff going on top. This is really enjoyable. Okay, definitely a difference between the third and fourth brew It's interesting. I've found, just out of habit really, I kind of go consistently for the first, second, and thirds, and then I add time starting on the fourth, and it seems to just mellow it out. I wonder if it would be, what would happen if I just kept it at the same amount of brewing time. Yeah, all of the above, just mellowed and smoother and more balanced for the fourth brew. Back to the first. It's definitely got a really satisfying, creamy but bright and vibrant quality to the overall brew. Let's go right on to the fifth. Before I do the fifth, I'm going to go with the combined first through fourth brews here. It's making me zen out a bit. I feel like it's a really, what I most appreciate about this tea, it's complex enough, it's substantial enough, but there's a purity to it. There's this lack of muddledness to it. It's got a nice, soft herbal quality. I don't know, it's well-rounded, I find, and very satisfying as well as stimulating. Okay, fifth brew, I let this go for 1.5 minutes. Kind of along the same progression, lighter. It's starting to fade on the fifth brew. Definitely, if you started with the fifth brew, it would be satisfying in and of itself. It's not weak per se, it's just comparatively weaker than the previous brews. In terms of the leaf material, the dried leaves are pretty consistent. There's a little bit of variation in size, which there was a lot of rain during, well, this was, yeah, there was rain all the way through from late June through to, late June through September. This was harvested earlier in August, within the first 10 days of August. And so it didn't get the heavier rains that happened in later August, like the other fall batches of tea. So a nice consistency of color. We can see from the brewed leaves that this is definitely Li Shan stock. That's a thick stem. And the leaves are thicker and hardier because they're growing at a much higher elevation. It gets cold at night, and that does something to the tea trees in terms of how they produce their new growth. They basically just make a hardier stock of leaf. Hardier stock of leaf, while it's still fresh, means more substance in the overall composition of the leaves, producing a more fully flavored character of tea. So there we have it, a classic Li Shan High Mountain Oolong. We wanted to share this in order to give our tea club members an experience of the most renowned name in high mountain tea in Taiwan, basically the most prestigious name, because it's the highest elevation. It is a different climate. It's further to the north. So there's just a climate difference in that region compared with Shanxi and also with Ali Shan high mountain tea growing regions. And it's nice to experience the difference in quality of tea. And it's not so much quality, better or worse, it's more like character and what these regions produce in their flavor profiles that vary from one to another. That's part of the tea culture that exists and is alive and thriving here in Taiwan, and something that we want to convey to people all over the world. Please feel free to leave comments in the comment section on this video or on our blog posts. We love to hear your experiences, any questions you have about any batch of tea. This one's coming at you in October, and now we'll start going through the winter months with some hardier, roastier characters of tea. Thanks for being with us. See you next month.